to everyone, viewers and the audience. Mm, this session will be starting with Professor Dr. Noel Scott, Professor of Tourism Management, Sustainability Research Center, University of the Sunshine Coast, Australia, will be jointly presenting on halal tourism with Dr. Sari Lenggogeni from Universitas Andalas, West Sumatra, Indonesia. I would like to take the opportunity to read a brief biography about Professor Noel Scott and Dr. Sari. Professor Noel Scott, at PhD, is Adjunct Professor of Tourism Management in the Sustainable Research Centre, University of Sunshine Coast, Queensland, Australia. His research interest includes the study of tourism experiences, the destination management and marketing. He is a frequent speaker at international academic and industry conferences. He has over 300 academic journals published, including 16 books. He has supervised 23 doctoral students to successful completion of their thesis. He is on the editorial board of 10 journals, a member of the International Association of China Tourism Scholars, and a fellow of the Council for Australian Tourism and Hospitality Education. Prior to starting his academic career in 2001, Dr. Scott worked as a senior manager in a variety of business, including as a manager, research, and strategic service at Tourism and Events Queensland. Alongside Professor Dr. Noel Scott, we also have Dr. Sari to jointly present this paper. Dr. Sari is Assistant Professor in Faculty of Economics, Universitas Andalas, Indonesia. She received her PhD degree from the University of Queensland, Brisbane, Australia. Her research interests are in the field of tourism crisis and disaster management, tourist behavior, and tourism management. She is a founder and director for Tourism Development Center, Universitas Andalas. She received several awards and scholarship and has practical expertise assisting the government and tourism industry in tourism strategic planning at local, national, and international levels. She has worked on an expert team for the President of the Republic, Indonesia. She was a project leader for developing the West Sumatra Province Halal Tourism Regulation. It is my immense pleasure and we are humbled to have both of you to present jointly on halal tourism. Professor Noel Scott and Dr. Sari. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Yusuf. It's wonderful to have the opportunity to talk. I've never been to Bangladesh, but I've always wanted to, and so it's wonderful to make contacts. Perhaps after COVID allows travel to start again, I'll come and visit. So I'm here in Brisbane, Australia, and my colleague Dr. Sari is in Indonesia, and we're going to talk briefly about halal tourism, which is an area that we both share an interest in. I'll try and share my screen now and see how we go. Okay, so you should be able to see this presentation. Is that correct?
It's visible. Yes, it's visible.
Okay, great.
Yes.
All right, so my interest in halal tourism began in 2004 when I went and visited Saudi Arabia. And at that time, Saudi Arabia was very closed, but interested in slowly opening its economy to diversify and to get more into tourism. So they were talking about halal tourism, and I thought, what's this? I was lucky enough to meet Professor Jafar Jafari, who's one of the legends of tourism studies, and he and I eventually decided to edit a book together, which we did called Tourism in the Muslim World. So some of the material I'll be talking about today comes from that and other areas.
Trial version.
Okay, so the first thing that's important about halal tourism is that it relates to travel by Muslims, and Muslims are, of course, constitute about 25% of the population of the world, around 1.6 billion people. That was in 2009. With, you know, and when we think about, perhaps when people from the West perhaps think about Islam and tourism, they're thinking about Saudi Arabia, perhaps. But in fact, where Dr. Sari's from, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nigeria, Iran are all big markets, have large populations, Muslim populations, which offers opportunities for many halal type products, as well as halal related travel experiences. So tourism and of course tourism as the other side of the equation, Muslim or halal tourism, and I always say tourism is the world's largest industry, but recently with the effect of COVID, I don't think that's quite true anymore. So we'll say tourism was the world's largest industry and hopefully will be again. And that's why during this presentation, I just briefly want to touch upon the effect of COVID on tourism, because it's the elephant in the room. It's something that I think you need to discuss. But certainly for any country, tourism is important. It contributes around 10% of world GDP, certainly in 2019. And until COVID, it was growing in many countries because the world is, the economy of the world is growing. The graph on the right shows the relationship between GDP per capita, which is along the bottom in US dollars, and seats per capita in a country. Seats, that's airline seats. And so what you see is a exponential curve where as GDP per capita in a country increases, there's a rapid growth in travel generally, and that eventually the scale on the left is logarithmic. So you see that the graph falls over as it grows, but many countries which have got small GDPs are growing rapidly, and to me this indicates that in future, as or in at the same time as GDP grows, tourism will grow. Okay, so and there's been other factors which have been leading this growth, especially aviation, and those are factors which, of course, COVID is causing a problem. So let's just talk briefly a little bit about COVID. I'm from Australia, so here COVID is pretty much under control. We're very lucky because Australia is an island. So at the moment, although there have been 2 waves of infections, pretty much COVID's under control. And, you know, we're in Australia as a whole, population 25 million perhaps, the number of cases per day is under 10. So pretty much it's under control. There have been deaths, about 800 odd deaths, maybe mainly in, unfortunately, my age group, the plus 60 and above age group, although the number of infections has been mainly in the 25 or 20 to 29 age group. So young people are more likely to get the disease. Older people are more likely to die from it, which is a bit of a problem for me as I'm getting on. There has been some outbreaks in certain regions of Australia, but pretty much COVID's under control here, but it has had big effects on tourism, as I'm sure it has had around the world. So it's had effects on our economy as well as specifically on tourism. Economically, we have in Australia a lot of people who are on work visas for agriculture, picking and so on. They can't get a visa. Certainly our universities are in crisis because so many of the universities are reliant upon international students at the moment. Cruise ships have essentially stopped. Well, they have stopped, are not allowed in Australia. Transportation, one of our major aviation suppliers, Virgin Australia, has gone into voluntary administration, and mostly the tourism industry has been suffering. There has been a lot of work done on COVID clean business practices, and this is one of the signs that is put onto the outside of particular businesses that meet the requirements, the government requirements for good practice in dealing with COVID. And so there's been a lot of that, and there's also been a lot of training, virtual training, I suppose similar to this in Australia, where people are trying to learn how to deal with COVID. Just what's going to happen in future? Certainly in Australia, domestic travel has continued, but Australians are not allowed to travel overseas, and we can't get we can get very limited number of people traveling to Australia. How long is it going to last? Probably till end of 2021. We'll see, depends on so many things. Anyway, so everything I'm going to say now about halal tourism must be with the proviso that tourism is suffering at the moment, but I believe, and I think there's evidence to suggest that the interest in tourism will continue in future. Okay, so moving on to halal tourism. These are some of the countries around the world. There's a company that I think Dr. Sari, my co-presenter, has done some work in, Crescent Travel, that actually rank countries in terms of halal tourism. And so I don't think Bangladesh is ranking very highly at the moment, but these sort of ranking systems are available that you might want to get to. Okay, well, what is halal tourism? Again, Dr. Sari will have some ideas. I think, there are different approaches to understand halal tourism. Some people would say that it's any activity, event, or experience undertaken. I know that, I hope it's true. And it was chosen as the city of tourism by OIC member states. So clearly there's some interest in developing Islamic tourism or halal tourism in Bangladesh. But you are facing international competition. So other countries have got in earlier, Malaysia especially, United Arab Emirates, Brunei, and Indonesia. Indonesia, Dr. Sari will be able to talk about. So there's competition. In particular, one destination I'm aware of, Lombok, has competed in the 2016 Halal Awards and developed and won the category as best honeymoon destination and family friendly hotel. So in Jakarta. So there is some sophistication in the halal tourism market that you should be aware of, and you can learn from these. The last thing I want to say, and I know Sari wants to talk, is that it's not just about halal tourism. If you want to do halal tourism, you've got to do tourism well. So tourism requires understanding why people want to travel and meeting all their needs. The majority of people in the halal market will be traveling for leisure purposes, perhaps, and the halal dimension is not their main decision criteria. It is what can I see in this place? What's of interest to me? What standard of service will I receive? How easy is it to get there? So to develop halal tourism, you've also got to have all the other elements of the travel system working. So so you've got to try and fit and understand why people want to travel, why a holiday to Bangladesh would be interesting and desirable for people, and then meet halal requirements as well. Okay, so don't just think, oh, okay, I'll get some halal certification and everything will be fine. So you've got to think about meeting the customer's requirements at all stages of the journey. Some of these touch points will be related to halal considerations. Others will be about how good is the attraction, how exotic is this place, and so on. So last words. Halal certification for individual operators can be expensive, and I'm not sure if in Bangladesh there is a certification system, but that's important. Competition from other destinations is increasing. One thing that is important, in some international hotels, they don't allow a use of the hijab by their staff, which I think is wrong. So think about that. But then don't think about just only the halal considerations. You also need clean destinations. You need attractive destinations. I think Dr. Sari will talk about some of the market segments within the halal market, the family market, millennials, younger women traveling. And that's an example of how the halal market is evolving and becoming more sophisticated and increasingly being integrated into the normal process of travel that tourists want. Used to be, when I was a boy, that travelers were from Europe or America. Now travelers are from China, the Middle East, India, Indonesia, and so that sophistication is now sort of built into the travel industry a bit. I'd certainly suggest focusing on developing experiences. I could go into that a lot. I won't do that now. And during COVID, one of the things that you may be able to do to get some promotion for halal tourism or other attractions is to develop some virtual experiences that you can put online. Okay, so conclusions. I think post-COVID, there'll be less volume of travel and each individual trip will probably be higher value. Developing halal tourism requires training, product development, and planning. And finally, international travel will return, but when and at what level is open to question. Anyway, so that's me. We've got limited time, so I'll just now pass on to Dr. Sari, who wants to talk, who's given me some slides. Sari, if you tell me whenever, I'll change the slides for you. Are you there, Sari? Sari, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Yusuf, I think Sari is going to talk now.
Sorry, I'm unmute. I forgot to put the button. So thank you very much, Professor Noel Scott. Do you want me to operate the slide by myself, or?
It's up to you. I'm happy to operate it.
That's not.
Oh, no. You share your screen. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'll stop sharing. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Can you see my PowerPoint already?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
So thank you very much. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me here. It's such an honor to speak and glad to know all of you from Dhaka. And I'm also thanking for my mentor, Professor Noel Scott, to include me to this very prestigious symposium, international symposiums. So due to the time restriction, so I think I need to make it short, just highlight some issues about halal tourism development from inbound and outbound perspective in the largest Muslim population, Indonesia. So first, I'm going to highlight about the domestic tourism, or how is halal tourism development in Indonesia today, where actually Indonesia, as Professor Noel Scott already highlighted, as the largest Muslim populations. But however, we need to highlight it that each of province they have their own DNA destination. So not all of the province are majority Muslim as a destination. So some of destinations like such as Bali, Bali is a majority non-Muslims host. So there are actually when the Ministry of Tourism try to implement the halal tourism in some places where Muslim not as the majority, there are some of rejections from the host. So this is due to the misleading concept of halal tourism, Islamic tourism, and Muslim-friendly tourism. I will talk more in the following slide. And then there are 10 main destinations selected from the Ministry of Tourism, and only Lombok and West Sumatra has drafted the regulation for halal tourism for their industry. And West Sumatra choose as Muslim-friendly destinations. We choose the concept of Muslim-friendly destination, not halal tourism, due to some issues, because we combine the concept of Sharia, local norms, and general leisure for Muslim and non-Muslim market. So we welcome for non-Muslim market to enjoy the concept of Muslim-friendly destinations. And also from the outbound market, what we need to think, if you want to develop the outbound market from the biggest Muslim world populations, where actually we conducted research about a couple of research, and there are some of potential market coming from the family tourism and the female Muslim tourism. And mostly the family tourists, they prefer to visit Muslim-friendly destinations due to the feeling of connections and between the Muslims countries. And also they want to visit the destination that provide the Muslim-friendly facilities, as Professor Noel Scott already highlighted. Not all criteria, but most importantly for praying rooms, and then for the toilet and its facilities according to the Sharia compliance, and most importantly halal food. And Malaysia is top family tourist destination for OIC country or Organization Islamic countries, and Singapore for non-OIC countries. And the atmosphere of diversity of halal tourism during August in Malaysia is very, very wow experience, targeting Indonesian with shopping as their motivations for traveling, and also culinary activities. And research show, this is the most important one I want to highlight, that from the perspective of outbound market of Muslim tourists, female Muslim tourists, the issue of Islamophobia can change their behavior to choose the destination. So the sensationalist news, such as like the one of the crisis, Islamophobia events in New Zealand, probably can change their willingness to visit that destinations. And also the engagements of being part of local way, sometimes in non-OIC countries. So some female Muslim travelers who probably committed to wear a hijab may modify their hijab just to make to ensure they feel comfortable to visit the non-Muslim countries. So Islamophobia and Muslim-friendly facilities is very important in tourism industry to be understood if you want to targeting this market. So this is the issues of halal tourism in Indonesia. There are misperceptions about or misleading about terminology of halal, Islamic, and Muslim-friendly tourism. So due to this misperception of hosts or society, there were a rejection of halal travel implementations in non-Muslim host destinations such as Bali and also in North Sumatra. So most two of these destinations are from majority with the Hindus populations and also non-Muslim. So they rejected due to the misconception of or misunderstanding about what is actually halal. So they thought that halal tourism will push them to change their norms or their religions to Islamic. So this is very misleading issue about the halal tourism development in Indonesia. Also from outbound tourist female Muslim travelers, there are fears that, as I told you, female Muslim traveler fears to visit non-OIC country like where Muslim as minority, and female Muslim fashion identity, such as like Islamophobia fears. So I got Professor Noel already highlighted about the concept of pilgrimage tourisms, Islamic tourism, and halal tourisms. So pilgrim tourisms, just like Muslim want to go to Hajjah and Makkah just to feel near to God and to find calms. And halal tourism, Islamic tourism is essentially a new touristic interpretation of pilgrim that merge religious and leisure tourism, such as like when they are going to Umrah and they also enjoy the another visit to Turkey to enjoy the historical buildings, historical Islamic church in Turkey. And halal tourism is actually type of religious tourism that is conformity with Islamic teaching regarding behaviorism, dress, conduct, and diet. So it's actually how to fit the Muslim needs. That's the most important one. But it's not only targeting the Muslim, but also the non-Muslim as well are welcome. So this is what has happened, Muslim travel market from global perspective, where due to 9/11s, and there are an issue of the raising of Islamophobia, and also the media coverage sometimes highlighted about the news of Islamophobia. So more about 150 million visitors, according to the GMTIs, and global Muslim spending about more than 180 billions in 2026, and make up about 11% of global expenditures and 6.3 increase of loss of last year's Muslim markets. So they plan to go, they really want to visit the non-Muslim destination. However, due to this issue, sometimes they prefer to visit the non-Muslim, the Muslim destinations due to the safety issue. So this is really fit to Professor Khan's dissertations. So safety issue is very important, and also the tourist behaviors, especially if they associate it with religions and their values, determines their decisions to choose the destinations. That's why there are a lot of non-Muslim countries developed the halal tourism due to the values of Muslim market. So I make it quick. So this is just the values of halal tourism. So Professor Noel already highlighted about this is the top 10 OIC destination, and Indonesia ranked first, just same score with Malaysia, and Singapore is the first rank of top 10 non-OIC destination according to GMTIs and MasterCard. So this is one research that I want to share to you. So we conducted research about the almost 181 female Muslim travelers who just returned from non-OIC country. They said, okay, most of them, 82.3% is first-time visitors, and this is the most important issue that probably non-Muslim countries really need to highlight. The feeling of uncomfortables, of being different during the trip, make them choose another destination. Out of 149 respondents who do wear hijabs, so not all female Muslim wear hijabs, as we know so far, and 28.7 say admitted to modify their hijab during their trip in non-Muslim countries, and the rest said they did not wear a hijab due to the feeling uncomfortable. So just like the Islamophobia issue. And we conducted the second research in-depth interview for post-visitor from non-OIC country. There are about 4 risks that they feel. First, they really feel uncomfortable for getting the discriminative in immigration procedures. Non-halal animal tracer dog from Muslim, because dogs are not allowed in the Muslims to get in touch with these animals. And then lack of Muslim praying facilities, including toilet and wudu, complement, and halal food. So that's why if we see the Singapore countries now leading, due to they provide and they cater the needs of the Muslim market, because they know that Indonesia is the biggest tourism market for Singapore and Malaysia. So they provide the mosque in the close to the Orchard Road, also the hotels, not certified hotels, but they provide hotels that serve praying room, wudu, and qibla, and other things that Professor Noel already mentions. And also Islamophobia, psychological risk, like they got a fear for getting a bullying, verbal racism, just like they saw in social networking sites news, and non-verbal due to Muslim attributes, such as like wearing the identity of Muslims. And then social risk. Yeah, I actually got my friends got some of bad experience when they visiting non-Muslim countries. Like they said, Muslim, you are terrorists. So since the 9/11 events, the uncomfortable feeling for wearing the Muslim identities make them to feel sometimes change their behavior, like modifying the hijab and other things. And terrorists associated and discrimination by host. This is the fears of them. And Islamophobia physical, like abusive, gunshot, like what has happened in New Zealand 2 years ago, and physical abuse. So this is just what we need to understand if you want to develop the halal tourism is you do need to understand the specific habit, desire, and requirements. And you need to know what is the perceived value, what is their need, what is their wants, and according to the Sharia compliance, and they will choose the destination that they feel fit to them. So this is just some of part of the perceived value that we found in the second research. So quality, price, emotional, social, and halal physical attribute and halal non-physical attributes is very important issue if you really want to develop this halal tourism. So I think that's all because the time is very limited. So thank you very much. I will get back to Professor Kang. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Noel Scott and Dr. Sari from Indonesia. Now, I would like to move into the question and answering session. Before that, I would like to request Professor Noel Scott or Dr. Sari, could you please minimize the slide, please?
Oh, sorry.
No problem.
Oh, sorry. I started stopping the video first. Okay.
Yes, please. Okay. Before I move into our question and answering session, I would like to ask our Honorable Distinguished Professor Dr. Sultan Al-Aziz to add some comment on the presentation, if you would like to do that.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to hear a very nice presentation. Both of them together is complementary. It's a growing tourism concept around the world. It will grow. This phobia or fear of Islam will gradually go. But now I will come back to this COVID situation. This is not going to go away anytime soon, because I have attended all these international COVID seminars because it overlaps with my subject interest. A lot of rumors, even in countries, very developed countries, misinformation and misleading of people is very common. This will hurt the tourism industry. For example, only yesterday I was hearing news because I am exposed to US news every day that the tourism industry is going to be hit very hard. Even though this remark is outside of Islamic tourism, I would say that the hitting very hard is going to be so-called, in my thinking, less if the travelers knew about our second Indonesian presenter's presentation, because there is no fear in the list of countries that they have mentioned. And Singapore being a developed country in a way, you go there, you do not feel anything at all about being Muslim. Just go around like anybody else. Many other countries she mentioned is also like that. I'm also very impressed with her professor, with his international experience, and I will remain in touch about this halal tourism concept, because I think this has sort of a better floor in this COVID situation than in countries where rumors are the rule of the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Aziz. I think we have already some questions. One question from MD Mushfiqul Alam. MD Mushfiqul Alam, if you can hear me, could you please unmute your microphone and ask your question? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Sir, my question is halal tourism is discouraged by non-Muslims because due to 9/11 and non-Muslims people see halal tourism negatively? Can you please answer?
Well, I'll have a go, and then I'll pass it on to Sari, who's probably better at this than I am. Certainly, so after the World Trade Center bombing, there was a wave of Islamophobia around the world. It was really, I think, pushed by the media a lot, as well as by of course, the United States government. And that caused, I think, a change in the travel patterns of the predominant markets traveling at that time, who were mainly from the Middle East, and led to the development of, let's say, Muslim-friendly countries. Certainly Malaysia and to some extent Indonesia benefited or capitalized on those trends. The other side of it is that how do non-Western people think about, Western people, Australians in general, think about traveling to a country which talks about halal tourism? Well, I think this is it is an issue, and that's why I think from an Australian or from a Western perspective, it's not about what happens. I think halal food is very healthy, and I think that many of the things that are halal actually fit nicely with what an Australian wants on a holiday. The issue is, how do you present it to people? How do you market it? And my perception is, in some countries, there's the country is presented, the whole country is presented as halal or as a Muslim country, rather than it being one element of the trip. So this is about, it's not really about what actually happens on the ground. It's more about how you present it to people in your marketing. And I think if you presented it in ways which are more, perhaps less middle of the road, and are perceived as a little bit more extreme, then it will have an effect on people from non-Muslim countries. And I think tourism should deal with everyone. And so that, anyway, Sari, you might like to talk.
All right. Thank you, Professor Noel Scott. So I think this issue has been tackled by some of non-OIC country or non-Muslim countries, such as I saw Australia, Perth have advertised the destination for friendly Muslim destinations. So also some of other destinations such as Singapore and Japan, and they also try to grab this market using we have like praying room for Muslim. We have friendly Muslim destinations. Also, we provide halal food, especially because this is the important one. This is the daily activities, the daily needs that Muslim want to have during the trip. So this is the important issue that not all like other not all criteria such as like separated between Muslim and non-Muslim, not that much, but the most important one like halal food, and then Muslim friendly destinations, also praying room or qibla is very important things that if the non-OIC country want to develop or want to capture this Muslim market. I think that's the first question, I think. And non-Muslim people see halal tourism negatively. Well, actually, I saw some discussions in the between the Western and non-Westerns, Muslim and non-Muslim. Seems like due to the halal wars, well, halal is actually kind of like the certifications. So certification of halal food, but for accommodations, in Indonesia, they don't have the certification for halal accommodation, but they claim by the owners that they are the halal accommodations or Sharia accommodation, just to ensure that this accommodation give the comfortable feeling either to Muslim and non-Muslim market to stay on that accommodations. So they provide like qibla or and then the praying room and the toilet and the daily and the basic need, basic requirements for Muslim according to the Sharia compliance and their Sharia teaching for each of the tourists. This is the very important things that if you want to grab the Muslim market. I think that's all. No, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Noel and Dr. Sari, for answering the first question. I think I have another question from MD Imran Hossain. Imran Hossain, would you like to ask your question, please?
Thank you, sir. It's an honor to ask you a question, Doctor and Professor, both of you. My question is halal food intended for Muslim customers only? And what about the future of the halal branding for Muslim or other religions?
Okay, or perhaps I'll start from my Australian perspective. You see, most people in Australia don't understand. If they're not Muslims, they don't understand what halal tourism is. It's not a thing that's relevant to them. And so all you need to do is tell them that you've got food which is nutritious, tasty, exciting, interesting, and they will eat it. However, it is of central importance for Muslims, and it is the introduction of accreditation systems and the growing affluence of the Muslim populations, which is focusing on the need for branding and for assurance that this food is available. So they're two different markets, you know. Halal food is food, and to most people, they probably can't taste the difference. It's the idea of it which is important for Muslims, not so much for non-Western people. Don't know if that makes sense. Sari, could you help?
Yes, it is exactly, Noel. Sometimes, like, yeah, when I was in Australia, if it is hard for me to find the halal food, for example, vegetarian food is also okay for us. So not really, and also they are normally, like for example, like if you want to go to Coles and then you want to buy a bread, and they put the ingredients. If, for example, if it is the food is has materials or ingredient from like pig, for example, that are not for Muslim, so they announce it. But I think they will be good if it improved by like giving the labeling to the food that this is non-halal, for example. But probably this quite a difficult issue to do that. But yeah, at least vegetarian is also okay for halal food.
Thank you very much. You have two more questions, but I can only accommodate one question. So, Sumaya Akhtar, I would like to give you the floor to ask your question. And on this occasion, Sakib bin Alam, we can't accommodate your question because we have a time slot. So maybe for the next speaker, I will give you the first preference. So please, Sumaya Akhtar, would you like to ask your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for giving me this opportunity. Both ma'am and sir, I have a question that how can we increase the female tourism in non-OIC country, because there is a possibility that sometimes they got disinterest because of some dress up and some food choice. And how can we increase this level, the percentage of female in non-OIC countries?
So the question is, how do you increase the percentage of female Muslim travelers in non-OIC countries? Sari, I think this question has got your name on it, so I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you, Professor Noel. So I think the most important and the latest news in today's Muslim tourism management or halal tourism management is the biggest and the biggest potential market of female millennial Muslim market in Asian countries. So this is very important issue and very important market, because they are these millennials female Muslim tourists. Usually they love to have like kind of like fun and more to like virtual, like just like the zillennial or millennials. So you need to conducted the integrated marketing communications, see what they want, what makes them get the wow experience, just like Professor Noel Scott mentioned it. Like for example, like in Malaysia, they got a lot of street buskers in the Bukit Bintang, the main centers of the destinations, and they attract not only in the day tourism development day attraction, but also night attractions, street busker, and And the interesting one, the wow experience ones is the performance. The actor or the actress or the music performers say can cater more than 4 language, and they understand about their market, their international market, and they involve audience to sing with them with Arabic music, and also kind of like that. I guess that's all. No.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you very much. I can see our Honorable Vice Chancellor is on this session. Honorable Vice Chancellor, would you like to add any remark with this presentation?
Well, no, there was very nice discussion. I missed the first part of it. I just joined a few minutes ago, but the topic was quite fascinating. And then when you are talking of female Muslim traveling, going for tourism, now the Sharia prescribes that no female can travel alone. She has to have either husband or his father or his brother or someone permitted by religion to accompany such women. So I would say very Puritan Muslims, they would not be traveling alone, and they would not be facing the kind of problems that we sometimes apprehend. However, there are, I would say, modern Muslims who would like to travel, maybe alone or in group, but then I would say their number is increasing, primarily because of their Western education, and also because they think that they can take care of themselves. So I would say some kind of a sort of not only just entertainment, halal entertainment, other things, but about sort of a security issue are also involved. So what I would say that we have to encourage and create an environment where the female travelers will be feeling safe. At the same time, they would have the right kind of environment for their entertainment and others, skill, maintaining the basic rules of Islam and so on. Thank you very much, Noel Scott and Ms. Sari. So you have been answering questions so nicely. It was really good to listen to that. I wish I had not missed the first part of it. Thank you both.
That was Professor Dr. Abdul Rab, Vice Chancellor of IUBAT. Thank you, Professor Noel Scott. Thank you, Dr. Sari, both of you. That this is the only joint presentation, and I can say the tourism world is very small. When I'm sitting at Bangladesh, you are in Indonesia, and Professor Noel Scott is from Australia. So thank you once again from the College of Tourism and Hospitality Management. We are really proud and humbled to have both of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.